Welcome everyone to our Noteflight Learn webinar. We really appreciate you joining us and taking the time to watch this. I'm going to start off by actually showing my face and saying hi to everybody. So, John Mlynczak here at Noteflight. It's really a pleasure to have everyone joining and watching this webinar. Tonight we're going to focus on creating music using Noteflight Learn. And one thing we know is that every student has a device, and technology is ubiquitous in society and education, and students can really benefit from learning music, integrating the technology that they are familiar with using all of the time. And what we work hard here at Noteflight to do is provide resources and tools and music and content that makes teaching music easier and faster and more engaging for students. So tonight we're going to talk about lots of lesson ideas, lots of education approaches to use Noteflight both as a creative tool, as a composition tool, as a music learning tool, as a recording tool, as an online collaboration tool, and a place where you can access content and do performance assessments. So we're really going to focus on where creativity and online collaboration and musical content meet. And joining us tonight as a special guest to help us talk about this is the one and only, the famed, wonderful Roger Emerson, and I'm going to turn over the camera to him right now so he can introduce and say a few words.
Hey, thanks, John. I paid him to say that. So anyway, it's really a delight to be able to share in this. I have to be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time with Noteflight, but I'm really excited about the potential and the possibilities, particularly with these content libraries that you get. A lot of my material that, of course, can be transposed. And I know in the middle school, we've got middle school directors, that's really important because depending upon the group you have in any one year, that can make a difference, a step one way or the other. So anyway, I'm sort of learning along with everybody else, today, and I'm sure I'll have some questions and hopefully some input as we go along, John. So anyway, why don't you get started, John?
Sounds good. So to start, we're going to go through some just basic uses of Noteflight Learn, kind of give a broad overview of what it is, and then we'll quickly get into all sorts of use cases and things we can do with all the different tools here. So if you're not familiar, Noteflight Learn is an online site where you and your students all have access to Noteflight tools in your own private URL. So Noteflight Learn actually gives you your own site. In this case, I'm going to be using my demo site, which is schooldemo.sites.noteflight. But you have your own URL where all student usernames are unique and protected and COPA compliant for students under 13 years old. And you have all of these tools right in the website. So just before we begin, when you purchase Noteflight Learn, you have a group of people who have access to a website. You can have your own dedicated website as you see here, or Noteflight Learn can be integrated into any learning management system, such as Canvas or Blackboard or Moodle or Schoology. Also, it's directly integrated with Music First. It's directly integrated with Charms. And I will say that very soon, in the coming weeks, we're directly integrated with Google Classroom. So our goal is to provide a tool that integrates with any learning management system that schools use to make life easy for everyone. So first of all, Noteflight is a music composition tool, and inside of Noteflight Learn, every student and teacher gets access to all premium Noteflight features. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the music editor tonight, but I have to start there and just show how sort of easy it is to create and make music. And every student has access to a tool that they can use anytime on any device to create music. So in this case, I can just type in some notes, and then you have customizable palette at the top that you can view what you want to see. You have a full menu on the left, but the coolest thing is you have a full, easily searchable help menu. So if I want to slur this, I just search for slur. It finds it right there. We show you where in the editor palette slur exists, or you can just click the button right there, and there's your slur. So if you need more help on something like that, you can always view the user guide. That's directly connected there, or you can even see what you searched for, like slur, right in the user guide. So we've tried to make the editor as user-friendly and easy as possible to learn. With my students, I show them the help menu because I just don't want to see a million hands in the air or hear my name called Mr. Mlynczak over and over and over again. However, I try to quickly wean them off and teach them that these shortcuts, such as the S, are available. So after they search for something, force themselves to start using the shortcuts to make entering music much faster. So from there, you have a full notation editor. Also inside of a Noteflight Learn site is you have groups to organize all of your students. And inside Noteflight Learn, any teacher can create unlimited groups. So you can organize by ensemble, you can organize by voice type, instrument, section, class. You can even create curriculum modules based on that. A group is basically a collection of people and a collection of musical scores. So with groups, I can have all my music theory students in a group, all my clarinets, all my orchestra, however you'd like to organize it. In this case, I'll go into music theory and show what it looks like if I have a collection of scores here. So I have different scores I've worked on with my music theory group. I can share a piece of music directly to a group. So going back to our music editor, we see that any musical score that we have, I can just go in the Connect panel, and any student or teacher in Noteflight Learn can share this with everyone who has access to the Noteflight Learn site or an individual group. And I can just type orchestra, and there's my group. Or you can share with an individual. So scores are easily shareable. Teachers can even create something called activity templates, which automatically turns a score into assignment, meaning anytime a student opens that score, it creates a custom copy. So just to show you what that looks like, I've gone into music theory, and I'm going to pull up a composition exercise we did previously. And I'm, of course, the teacher right now. Here's the exercise, but notice I've shared it with a number of groups, and I have what we call template copies. So every time a student opens my activity template, I simply get a list of every student that's opened it and when they opened it, and I can click on their particular assignment and view their work. Now these also, activity templates also work with any learning management system. So if you're doing assignments in Canvas or assignments in Moodle, or when we start using Google Classroom, it's all going to integrate directly with those assignments. So it works in the same way. Now,
cool.
Yeah.
So this would be really usable in AP theory and any of your theory classes there, right, John? It's a great way to.
Absolutely, because in those cases, Roger, like theory and composition, it's always you want students to complete something, and what you don't want to do is play the, oh yeah, change the file name, email it back to me, and all of that nonsense, or have to constantly reinvent what you've done. Your original teacher exercise never changes. The
Gotcha.
Students get their own copies, and you can reassign this exercise to students next semester or next year.
Cool.
So also, I'm glad you mentioned that. So it can also be used for recording assignments. And I'll talk about recording, but I want to show another example. Here's another activity template that I've set up that I think we shared with our clarinet group. I'll go back into my site and go back into my groups as the teacher. So let's maybe go into our clarinets and say clarinets have a recording exercise. So in this case, pretty sure it's the same thing I already have open here. Here's a clarinet recording exercise where I've told students to record themselves. And as you can see, we've had 20 students make copies. So we'll go ahead and select this, and we'll see Bobby's recording. And we'll notice that this student has audio recorded their performance directly into a Noteflight score. Because of I'm plugged into headphones, so you won't be able to hear this if I play it back right now. But we have an audio recording feature in Noteflight, so it's not only for composition and theory, but any score you have, a student can do it for performance assessment, integrated right in the score, or I know for vocal, any music notation program, no matter how good the sounds are, they're never going to dictate, breathe, or phrase. And the ability for a singer to sing the model performance, and when a student listens to a score, they actually hear the exact model. I think that's invaluable, but I'll let Roger speak to that.
Well, yeah, and of course, sight singing. I mean, oh my gosh, what a great tool for having kids sight sing and
absolutely. You could use this to pull up sight singing exercises, assign it to your choir, and the student pulls it up and records the first take, and that's how it is. And you even have a version history up here, so you can tell if the student took multiple takes or not. So you'll be able to check and know if if they have. So yeah, it's a great way to practice.
No hiding. There's no hiding. Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is that we have a number of included resources. So we'll get into more of this, but there's a real magic between using the Noteflight editor and organizing students in groups and using activity templates, because that's really easy to say this is completed by this group of students, and it can easily be set up in just about 3 clicks. In fact, as a teacher, I could say I want this to go to my orchestra and I want it to be an activity, and I hit save, and that's it. And now any student that's in orchestra will log in, they'll go to the orchestra group and they'll find the score and they will get their own copy and complete it.
John, do they get a notification, or could they get a notification on the, text or email that there is this assignment waiting for them? Is that just something you need to communicate in class?
Well, that's something that's done through the school learning management system. So Noteflight, we try to keep ourselves as a creative tool, but a lot of people will integrate us, like I said, with like their Canvas or Music First or Google Classroom. And so when they create assignments, they'll use this score as an assignment. So for example, once a teacher shares it like that, they'll use this URL and make that an assignment in whatever LMS, and then that's how they do it. Because one thing, just to be clear, is we don't do grade books or anything like that. We actually would rather you use your own grade book in your LMS that your school uses. Noteflight's just the creative and content tool that feeds into that. But great question. So the other thing that Noteflight Learn offers is, of course, you can create all of these assignments yourself. You can create anything with the editor. You can have students create assignments for each other, which is always good to put them on the other side to think about, teaching each other. You can upload music files from any other notation program using Music XML. Also, though, with Noteflight Learn, every user who subscribes gets hundreds and hundreds of included content. So in this Libraries tab, we have an included library inside of Noteflight Learn that has right now about 364, give or take, no, I know it's 364 exactly, exercises. I have a couple hundred ready to add that I just need to upload and create more, and our goal is to have 1,000 by August. So we're really pushing to include all of this great content that you can use as is, or you can use as a starter, because all of these are Noteflight scores. So Roger, you mentioned sight reading or sight singing. Let's say I'm a teacher and I want to find some sight singing for my students. Well, I just sorted this list by sight reading, and I have all of these different examples, and we have sort of numbered sight singing exercises. So we put them in a few different keys. Of course, you can change the key of anything, but let's actually go through and look at sight reading exercise. This one is actually not in D major, it must have been transposed, so I'm going to go in and fix this.
Darn kids.
Happens every time, right?
Yeah, well, are they graded or leveled?
Yeah, so we've had a group of teachers that have worked on creating these, and they are leveled 1 through I think 20 or 22 at this point, and they just get progressively harder in range and use of accidentals and rhythm and things like that.
That's really important. Yeah.
So what I did there is I went ahead and searched the library, and I checked out a copy of this sight reading that's included, and now, as you can see, it's in the score editor, so it's my score now. I just checked it out. Now it exists as my own score, and I can take it as is. I can edit any of these instructions if I choose. I can change the key of this. Maybe I like this sight reading exercise, but I want to actually take it up to F major. So, I checked it out as an E flat example, but I can, of course, do anything I want here. I can just make it F major. And then one trick I use is I just Command A, highlight the whole thing, and instead of using the transpose feature, which works quite well, I mean, I'll show it. We have a transpose feature. You can select the interval, up or down, whatever. But a little hot shortcut trick is if you hold down Shift and use the arrow keys, you can move things chromatically. So I just moved it 2 half steps to make life really easy. And then I'm going to go back and just change the key signature.
Yeah, then you go ahead.
I'm just going to pop the key signature. So that's that. I will tell you that we're going to change our transpose feature to ability to change the key signature for you. So that's coming in the next couple weeks as well as a site update. So you'll be able to select an interval and let the whole thing just transpose. So I've created this in F. Maybe I want to really trick them and just drive their life crazy and just do something really mean to them. Uh, just to see what happens, to see if they can get back down to this B flat at this point, right? I can edit it. It's a Noteflight score. But now that I have this, I want to make an assignment. Cool. I'm going to hit up my choir group and say, all right, choir, you're up. Let's see what happens. I want to make it an activity template, and I'm going to save it. And now every student in the choir group will see this sight reading exercise right there, and they can access it. We'll see multiple copies of it, and it's as easy as that. They can record it. They can just practice performing it. If I'm using this with some sort of learning management system, I can always take this score and just copy it and put this URL into my assignment, and all students will have it.
So John, if you took something from, say you had content library and you had an 8-measure figure that you wanted the students to practice, would you be able to basically sort of set that up as your homework, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly, so that's essentially I just pulled this and I just gave all the students in choir access to it, and then I could make this a homework assignment. I would put this in my homework, whatever LMS I use to manage that, and that would be the assignment.
Yeah,
and the cool thing is you get.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that there's always that 8 measures that's sort of a stumbling block. It seems like it'd be great to be able to again assign that, and they could listen to it as well as then basically record it. So that's neat. And you might show them the choral, because I know we might have a lot of choral directors here.
Yeah, we're going to go through the library right now. So in the included library, everything that I'm showing right now comes with Noteflight Learn. And I pulled some sight reading, but we have scale exercises, we have popular melodies, we have theory, composition, and then we even have basic chorales that we've taken and just put out there. So you can arrange these, you can sing these on syllables, you can have these in different keys. We have a lot of different Bach chorales that we've added in as well.
This is the public domain material that
this
comes
is all
with.
public domain. This all comes with Noteflight Learn. And like I said, our goal is to have 1,000 scores by August, to just keep adding to this rich library, because one of our core values is not only providing a creation tool, but providing a place where students can freely explore a catalog of music to learn and perform.
Yeah.
So all of these are ready to go. On top of that, in addition to the library that everyone gets, like Roger said, we actually also have, if you see my mouse moving, I have this big GoToWebinar control panel that you don't see, but I do, and I'm making sure I'm moving it around. We have these 6 libraries of published content. So we actually have digitized or taken, notation files and created full Noteflight notation files of all of this published content, and we actually organize it into 6 libraries. I know there's some other products out there that have delivered content before that kind of put everything in one big library, but for us, the saxophone player and band doesn't need the choir rep, and the choir kid doesn't need the guitar stuff, and so on and so forth. So by splitting this into 6 individual libraries, we can focus the content better, and we can offer each library for only $5 a student per year. So these are optional additional purchases that you can add content that's all Noteflight files for $5 a year. So for example, I'm going to click on choir, and we have, I think, 80 or so choir pieces that are built into Noteflight Learn already, and these are all full arrangements, and we actually give multiple voicings. And when you purchase the library for you and your students, you can purchase for however many students you want. So you would say, I want 30 students in my choir to have access to a choir library, and you'd purchase that on our website, and then you can go in here and you would just add which students have access and say, okay, these students now have access. And as soon as you do that, those students can play with anything they want. They sort of have an unlimited subscription to this library in digital format. So I could actually go through and check out something. Let's see what Mr. Emerson has here. I can sort it. And we can maybe grab an arrangement. And right now I've found it in my library, I've previewed it. If I want to use this with my students or help them learn their parts or use it as a sight singing exercise or have them record it or whatever, I just check out a copy. And what this does is create a copy of this score into your account. So if you over manipulate it, and you can always go back and just check out another copy again. You can check out 1,000,000 copies. In fact, Roger wants you to check out lots of copies because every time you open it, he gets paid.
Yeah, it's probably like Pandora. I get my 3 cents, but I'm just more excited. I've always considered myself a teacher first, and I'm just going, holy cow! I could have access to all those arrangements for $5 a student, and if I had a one-to-one school where they had their own iPads, wow! Am I correct in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all these arrangements are there, and so, we see lots of uses of this. We know teachers that are performing this rep but want a place where students can listen and isolate their part for playback or sing-along.
Wow.
And we know that there's plenty of instances where people may just want to learn it right from the iPad or even from the Chromebook or whatever.
Or you could project if you had a smart board or a smart podium that was, I assume, particularly with younger kids, that would be really neat.
Yeah, absolutely. Just projecting that right on the screen is having access to play along.
Oh man, you just put me out of business, but it's just so terrific. I'm, like I say, the teacher side of me is pretty excited about this.
So one thing we've done with content, and I'm going to show this sort of 4-part SATB Africa arrangement, but one thing we've done that you may notice is we've actually altered this content to make it most suitable for the digital environment. So you'll notice that this is not an octavo. We've actually taken the time to split out soprano, alto, and tenor bass. And the reason we do this is because it makes it easier to isolate, record, and learn these parts. So as a music learning part, I have access to this score. I can share this score with any of my students that have access to this choir library. And if they want to practice it or sight sing it, students can go in the instruments panel and say, you know what, I just want to see the soprano part. And Noteflight builds the soprano part. Or if I want to sing soprano and piano, I can put those two together, and Noteflight builds soprano and piano. I can add the alto in. So you could customize which parts you want to see at any given time.
Wow.
Which is pretty awesome. At the same time, let's say I want to record. I like to go into record mode personally when I work with mixer and parts. But now I can also customize what I hear. So if I want to create something where I just want to hear the piano and I want to sing the soprano, I can go in and say, okay, just show me the soprano and piano, but I want to go into my mixer and I just want to select piano. And now I can even save this. So next time I open it, this is the exact view I'll see. And now I can practice. I could actually record the soprano right along with the piano.
Cool.
In fact, I'll show you briefly how that works. Again, because we're on a webinar and limitation of technology, you're not going to hear what I'm doing, but you'll be able to see what the resulting effect is. So I'm getting a metronome count off, and I'm going to do the thing da 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 da. How is that, Roger? Did I do it justice?
Yeah.
The jaws are on point, I can tell you.
I can tell you're a trumpet player. Nice, well done.
Yeah. So you'll see there's a recording here, and notice now under the soprano, John Mlynczak is the selected audio for soprano. So when this is played back, as I mix this in my mixer, anything I add the soprano or play back, I'm actually playing back John Mlynczak versus the Noteflight notation playback. But hey, if you want to listen to your performance against the Noteflight playback, you can hear them both at the same time. Wow. You can toggle back to the notation playback. It's totally your choice. And in fact, I'm teacher John. If student Roger also recorded this, we could select us two together and hear what it sounds like with us singing together. So every user in Noteflight Learn can record one track per musical staff.
Okay.
So you could have all your sopranos record their part, and they could compare, they could peer assess, they could listen to what it sounds like with each other. You could have a place where everyone just gets a chance to record. Or what the idea I heard, and I'll pass it to Roger, is that a lot of teachers will have their section leader go in and record the part, and then they'll share the score with the whole choir, and then every other student is singing along with their section leader.
Yeah, that's very cool. Wow. I'm speechless. It's such a great teaching tool. Sort of revolutionizes or has the potential to how we do choral music, in the school classroom. So neat.
Well, what about like rehearsal tracks? Because I know a lot of teachers spend generally a lot of time either just like playing on piano or creating like rehearsal tracks for their students to learn their parts at home. And this seems to just provide that automatically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a real time saver there, and just again, if you, I hope people continue to buy print because I think there's something about holding an octavo. But if not, or if you're again in a situation where kids have a digital reader, this is just so cost effective. So
Yeah, absolutely. And again, most of the people that use content libraries now actually still buy the print because
yeah,
they do want to have the part to mark up and rehearse from. But, the print isn't going to play back to you and let you play with it and customize it. And,
right,
score study. So switching just for a second away from the choral world, I know, why would you? I mean, um,
yeah,
you know, just
I'm a
to
little
go into
biased.
what like a band or orchestra would use, choir students are very used to getting octavos and they're used to seeing everyone's part and understanding the relationship there. But band and orchestra students, I'll pull up the concert band. This is concert and jazz band. They're not as used to that. So one of the
Right.
cool things is, not only just learning your part, but what about score study? I mean, how many students? Let's pull up a grade 2 concert band. I'm just going to use my sort on the right to find something great. We'll pull up a piece by my friend Richard Sacedo. And I think this is the piece he wrote for United Sound, which is an amazing organization if you haven't checked it out. So this is a full band score. I'll go ahead and, like I said, I can isolate instruments and just look at individual parts, like just make me a flute part or add the first clarinet in or whatever. We can make any version, but let's go back to all parts. Students can actually do score study exercises. One of the coolest things I've seen teachers do is like, hey, highlight the melody. Where do you have the melody? Or look at your part in your section. Where does your section have the melody? Where does your section have the harmony? And who else has that with you? And just getting students to, and again, students can pull this up on their iPhone or their iPad or their Chromebook or any computer anywhere and look at it and make those decisions.
Right, because it's web based. Yeah.
So I think there's, again, it's just, there's so many things you can do with this that we never had access to. Even when I taught, like just a few years ago, I taught in the classroom. I teach college stuff now, but I don't, I wish I had these tools at my disposal because students can store study or they can, again, learn their part. Another thing, just sight reading is so important, and I know we have sight reading exercise and practice for students, but it's interesting because students tend to sight read melodies, or sight reading books tend to be 16 or 32 measure, constantly played through tricky things. But then you go to festival and you have to sight read with the band. So when do students get to practice sight reading and counting 3 rest and actually coming in on beat 4 here?
Mm-hmm.
Or having to count these rests and know when to come in. So they can actually pull up these and have graded repertoire that they can practice sight reading with that actually has the full band playing along with them and everything else. The cool thing is with every band and orchestra piece, we do have reference recordings as well. So you can click right here and we have the Hal Leonard concert band recording right there available for you to reference.
Wow.
So
That's neat.
a lot of cool things with content. So really at this point, Roger, I want to give you a second to maybe ask some more questions, and we can go through like all the how-to and could you, would you, should you scenarios. I could show examples of creating any sort of exercise you may want to look at.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. I spent a little time with it this afternoon. I was looking at the guitar offerings because a lot of both instrumental and vocal people have a guitar class, and man, was that terrific! Because you've got the sort of graded, from grade 1 all the way up, the hum and strum pop tunes, and it was very impressive. Very impressive. So.
Well, I appreciate that. That's a really good point. A lot of times we have to teach guitar, and where do we get rep? And this is a perfect place to do that. And we have both ensemble and solo. And piano and guitar libraries are educational piano and guitar. So for that very reason, like the things you play in a classroom setting.
Yeah.
And we've worked really hard to make sure we have multiple genres represented and, again, multiple keys. But the cool thing is these key signatures are all changeable because it's Noteflight. You can adapt it if you need to.
Right, to ease your guitar keys and things. Yeah, because Beatles is always too high. The original version.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny. So the newest library, we started with band, choir, orchestra, guitar, and piano, but now we've actually added the pop library. This one really, really excites me, both from a choral standpoint to a guitar, either a piano player, or as a trumpet player. I'm going to tell you right now, I love stealing rep from other areas to play and to work on. So you look at this pop library, we have almost 400 pieces of music in this, I think 381 to be exact, it's right there, that are all piano, vocal, guitar areas. So I'll tell you, Roger, can I tell you a secret? No one's listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I secretly have always wanted to, if I could do anything else, I would sing on Broadway. And and I've always been a show tune fan. I love playing musicals. I would play in the pit orchestra every night. I've played hundreds and hundreds of shows, and I'm nothing like sitting down there and cracking jokes with your friends while.
Right. While you miss your cue. While you count this.
You can't prove that.
Well, all I can say is that after that little bit of Africa, I think maybe you should stick to trumpet. But I'm. Yeah,
absolutely.
I love musical theater too. I think it combines everything that we do. So I'm right there with you. Yeah.
So this pop library I think is super exciting because this is like all the music that kids like want to hear. So they can pull up rock music, they can pull up show tunes, but they want to pull up something. I'm gonna go back and just pull an example out. Having students have access to this, all of these particular tunes are vocal line with piano. So I'm not going to sing All I Ask of You, though I can. But now, you have a vocal part with piano, and I can check this out. I can make, actually let me do that. I can make this vocal part anything I want. So this is not only transposing, but let's say I am a trumpet player, which, and I want to go, I'll just take the voice line, and I just say, you know what, Noteflight, let's make that a trumpet. And when I do that, the voice line turns into trumpet. I have it, in transposed view. So now I'm looking at my trumpet transposed for me, and I can play along right with the piano and, do my best Raoul on trumpet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's really amazing. Yeah, it kept the piano in the concert key and transposed your part. Wow.
Yeah, we have a simple concert pitch toggle up here, so you can do concert pitch versus non-concert pitch.
Gotcha. Are you you're adding content all the time? I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have 380 or so pop music in there, and we're growing all of the libraries. But the pop one's interesting because it gives students the ability to just find all this rep and play it and sing it. And of course, this is not the right key for them. They can change the key if they want to, or
right.
they can, do whatever they need. But,
yeah, boy, that's really useful.
And again, what about arrangements? Like, what if a group wanted to arrange this and try a different version of this particular,
right. When you think of all the show tune books and stuff that we get for kids to audition and whatnot, this is just terrific because you can just put it in the ideal key. And I suppose if you had it, as long as it was, these are not printable, so as long as, is that correct? So as long as they were on a digital device, you could give it to the accompanist and do your audition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, neat.
Absolutely. So I have a list of questions here, so I'm going to kind of just start toggling through them. And actually, there are a lot of Noteflight questions, so let me just get to these real quick. I think I actually did. I did show how to record into a score. The question of scanning music in comes up constantly, and this is something that is a delicate topic here. But is from a rights holder's standpoint, and I'll let you sort of talk about this briefly, Roger. But scanning music, if you take a piece of music, and I'll say what I've always said to people, that if I have 30 people in my choir and I buy 30 octavos, and I take an octavo and I scan it in to create maybe a rehearsal part so the student can hear that for a very strict educational purpose, I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. Where we get into trouble is if I scan in a piece of music and I distribute it to a bunch of students and I haven't purchased the music for those students and I'm using it in lieu of making a purchase, that's when Roger's going to come get you.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, there's the spirit of the law and the letter of the law, as far as I'm concerned. And I think, the spirit of the law says, hey, that's personally, that's reasonable, people are getting compensated. Letter of the law is probably no, and there's a fine line there about what constitutes fair use. And the reality is this is all in a state of flux because even though we think we're digitally savvy, we're really in digital infancy for all intents and purposes. And so it will sort of flesh itself out. But again, I think there is reasonable educational fair use that even, again, it might be debatable, but I think I think you've hit on the core of the thing, and that's to make sure that the copyright holders are compensated. So.
No, I appreciate it. A lot of questions about the content libraries and printing, so I will just reiterate that and say it more clear, is that the included content with Noteflight Learn, all the public domain exercises, sight singing, melodies, things like that, that content is printable.
Right.
Published content, the actual published scores are all copyrighted material. And we are providing digital access for $5 a user per year to hundreds of pieces of music. So these are not printable because I don't know any publisher when an octavo tends to sell for $3 to $5 each. You're not going to be able to print 80 pieces of music for $5. That's not the intent. We're providing.
Right. It is projectable, and it is you can read it on a reader. And as you and I have talked before, we're just waiting for a lightweight, indestructible reader that's nice to hold and cheap. that will change really this whole scenario, I think. So.
Yeah, from a performance standpoint, but again, I mean, a lot of people, choose to perform rep or look at what's in the Noteflight Learn libraries to have, an additional access to 80 or 100 pieces students can sight sing from or find new rep or, that supplements what they already have in their libraries or printing. So the paid libraries, the 6 published score libraries are digital. They are full Noteflight scores, so they are adaptable. I mean, you could use them in education purposes. You can have students practice writing harmonies. You can have students practice arranging. You can use these as Noteflight files because we're providing digital access to these. And there really aren't any copyright issues because remember, we have agreements with publishers. We're actually paying the rights holders for this. So your $5 goes to the rights holders based on how many times you open every score, just like everything, Spotify, Pandora, whatever. So,
it seems to me what would be really sort of fun is even if you're not using those content libraries for your general concert settings, you get to the end of the year and you've got 3 weeks left after your concert, you could pull this up and project it, and kids could sight read through all kinds of material. Which would be really fun and a great way to sort of, use that time effectively. So, pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I'll just kind of make the point now. We have a lot of questions just on logistics. I'm going to tell everyone about how we're going to give you access for 60 days to try everything out. But, with Noteflight, if you're a current Noteflight Learn user, or at any point while you're using Noteflight Learn, you pay for a year's subscription. And I guess I should actually just talk about what that looks like, because there's a lot of technical questions here. So when you buy Noteflight Learn, actually this is going to be a bad example because my Compt account is a current account with all sorts of stuff. So let me actually do some magic here. Pay no attention to the man behind the So what I'm doing is going incognito as what a non-logged in person would see.
Cool.
Because I have a current account, so If you have a current account, it brings up exactly what you already have, and you can make edits on the fly. If you want to sign in, but basically, Noteflight Learn is $69 for 10 users. So you get a teacher and 9 students, or 2 teacher, 8 students, however you want to break it up. Every additional student is only $2. So again, you think about everything you're getting, hundreds of pieces of included content, creation tool, recording tool, unlimited groups, everything we showed, access on any device. You can, that's only basically $2 a user after the initial fee. So if I have 100 students, I can, purchase $249 a year. Every student has access to doing composition, theory, creation, performance, everything. Now, I can also add a content library. So content libraries have a minimum of 10 users because we want to make sure that you're buying it for a group of students. And so you can buy the choir library for 10 users. You don't have to buy it for every user that's in the site, because you can actually give students access to the library individually. So I can buy, let's say I want to have a 30-person choir. I have 30 content libraries. I put 30 students in. Halfway through the year, I can remove 3 students and add 3 other students in the library. I'm paying for 30 seats for the whole year, so you can move students in and out. Just know, when you remove a student, they no longer have access to any of the content in the library, including content they have already checked out. It's going to take it away. So we're protecting all of our rights holders. You have to be in the library as a paid member, and you can see everything unlimited.
Right.
And we see a lot of large schools will buy it for multiple. So I have a 25-person band here, and then of course maybe, you know what, I'm just going to spring for 10 pop libraries, and I'm going to give some students as a maybe incentive access to the pop library if they do well, if they sit up straight, if they breathe right, if they do their homework on time. Hey, you can go play with pop music this weekend or whatever, Or I can do a fundraiser and just buy it for all 100 students. It's totally up to you. So that it totals up what your plan is based on all of its content, and then you can just log in and you can purchase. And again, at any time, if you're a current user and you want to add content libraries, you can just go to the payment page and add it to your account immediately. And halfway through the year, if 3 other students enroll, you can go to your page and just click 2 other, add your 3 students and add them right in. So you purchase at the beginning of the year, but you can always add more throughout right on the website. And you can even do it with a PO. You just put a PO number in and it automatically generates an invoice.
Wow, yeah. Neat stuff.
So that's the mechanism there. So another thing, people ask to peruse all of the content. I know, Roger, the first question you asked, how can I see all the content? Anyone that has a Noteflight Learn site all has this libraries tab. Anyone with a Noteflight Learn, when you do a demo, or if you're a current user, when you hit libraries, you can click on any library and you can see everything that's in there, just like I'm seeing right now. And you can even click on anything and you could you see the full first page preview. So you get the full preview. The only difference is once you purchase it, you can actually check it out and use it. So you can see and sort through everything in the library right now. If you don't have a Noteflight Learn account, on our page, there's a preview content, and you can just click here, and it takes you to noteflight.com/libraries. Anybody can view this page and see all of the libraries as well. So yeah, you can look at everything that's in there. If you want to send us more, every library sort of has an overview that says what's in it, and if you want something in there, email content@noteflight.com and say, hey, we want to see this, and we'll do our best to get it in as fast as possible.
Wow, I like that.
Everyone email content@noteflight.com and say, I need more Roger Emerson.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, John. Thanks for the plug.
Anything for you, my friend. Roger, last words, thoughts, anything?
Let me grab my. I guess I'm back here, and I'll try and move over here where I'm looking at the camera. It's there's so much out there these days digitally that we can purchase for our kids and for our programs. I think the Noteflight thing is very cool. I've got a student. I'm helping him record his senior project, and he went to the free version of Noteflight, and I said you got to write out a lead sheet, and he did. And so once a kid does that, he's sort of over the hump, and that's terrific. And I had some college students who actually turned me on to Noteflight about 3 years ago. Said, "Hey, you got to see this. It's great for doing our theory assignments and stuff." So I'm really excited about the content libraries, and again, particularly the ability to transpose. I've had a lot of teachers, for instance, who teach 6th grade and go, "I just can't find material. I want to do 3-part material for my mixed 6th grade choir, but it's never in the right key." And so taking 3-part mixed and popping it up a minor third will make it just perfect. And of course, we're going to publish things like that, but the ability to do that with Noteflight is really terrific. So yeah, I'm a believer. That's all I can say. So thanks for having me, John, and thanks for all that you educators do out there. It's you need a rest. I'm glad to see you come to the end of the year. I spent probably 20 of the past 40 years teaching, and hardest job I ever loved. So anyway, thanks a lot.
Well, I appreciate it, Roger. I'm glad you mentioned the Noteflight free accounts. I actually forgot to answer 2 questions that came in about students. A lot of times the students are using Noteflight and go to the teacher and say, "Hey, I wrote this thing." Actually, I hear these stories all the time, but I really like that students say, "Hey, teachers say, oh my gosh, the student found Noteflight and they made this amazing composition." And so, the free account, it's free. It's free forever. It is limited to only 10 scores. You're only getting 15 instruments. The students are on Noteflight.com side. When you buy Noteflight Learn, the students are getting full premium accounts in Noteflight Learn. So they've got unlimited scores, all the 85 plus instrument sounds, audio recording, all of those features are built in to Noteflight Learn. So they're getting the full premium version for $2 a user, in addition to the ability to be part of groups and collaborate and have access to the hundreds of scores that we include. So It's a lot of stuff. I mean, 400 pieces of music for $2 is is pretty cool. So we're going to send out some follow-up. We do have a notes.noteflight.com, and we have an education section. We have a great little post here on 7 ideas for using Noteflight and content. We have another post on all the information on Noteflight content libraries, include what's in each of the versions, things you can do with it. So we have lots of reading material here. We're going to ask everyone, if you don't currently use Noteflight Learn, sign up for a free 60-day trial. We give 60 days for 50 users because we don't want you to poke around for a day in your free time between planning periods and mandatory PLC meetings. We want you to get students involved in creating music for the rest of the school year or over time. So you can sign up for a demo. We give you all the instructions laid down clearly. And we have lots of other materials to help you out. So to do that, I put it in the chat, noteflight.com/learn. You can go to request a demo and just fill this form out, and we will set you up. If you don't have a current Noteflight account, it's going to ask you to create one because we need you to have an actual account so we can give you a demo and expand your account to add students to. But we'll send you all the instructions, we'll set you up. And the great thing is when you sign up for a demo, you're going to get a personal email from Cole, who's our music education sales specialist here. I'll be there to help you. We have our support staff here, and you'll be able to email us any questions you want over the whole 60 days. In fact, if you want us to jump on a private screen share and just answer anything, we're happy to do that. So we want you to enjoy this and understand it, and you'll be in direct contact with us. So with that, sign up for 60-day trials. Anyone watching this at any point is welcome to do that. And again, that's noteflight.com/learn. That's where you can get your demo. That's where you can see all the content. That's where you can go purchase or add to your current account. We're going to do a virtual round of applause for our great friend Roger.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Greatly appreciated. And everyone, have a great night. Thank you so much.